Hey guys, welcome back again to another episode of Hope with Jonathan. We have a very special guest tonight, all the way from Louisville, Kentucky, Mr. Bobby Buchholz. What's going on, Bobby?
Good evening. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you doing? Did you have a great Thanksgiving?
It wasn't too bad, not being able to have a whole lot of people over, but we had some good food and can't really complain. How was yours?
Well, we went away from doing the traditional Thanksgiving and actually ended up doing a Mexican style Thanksgiving, being that I'm living in Texas. So we decided to do that. It was pretty much me and my wife and kids. So we decided to do the COVID 19 stay safe type Thanksgiving meal. So being that I was
Yeah,
only 3 months transplanted and all that stuff, so we needed to, play it safe. So,
definitely.
but Bobby, you live in Louisville, Kentucky, and that's my hometown as well. Are you a Louisville Cardinal fan or Kentucky Wildcat fan?
I try not to answer that question, but I'm gonna have to stick with U of L.
U of L.
U of
U of
L.
L. Me too. So I'm originally from Shively area, so I grew up a huge U of L fan. Used to run into different coaches and players all the time, so
Sure.
I couldn't help just to be a University of Louisville fan. I met Felton Spencer when I was like a kid, just a young kid, and ever since then, man, I've just been sold on Louisville football, Louisville basketball, and then I ended up growing into liking Louisville baseball as well. So yeah, I'm a pretty
I
huge
usually
Louisville fan.
I usually mention Purvis Ellison, and everybody kind of looks at me like, Who's that? And I'm like, but
Oh yeah,
might be a
never
little too
nervous
old.
Purvis.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I still remember the glory days in the '80s, man. When I was little, they were winning championships,
Yep.
and of course, 2013. But we won't go into that. There's a lot of details in that one with
No doubt.
Patino. Yep. But hey, man, listen, the reason why we brought you on the show tonight, Hope with Jonathan, and again, I appreciate you coming on. Bobby's a busy guy. He works for General Electric there in Louisville, Kentucky. Bobby, what do you do there at General Electric?
So I'm a senior architect for virtualization, which is under infrastructure. So I basically, help facilitate all the server infrastructure for the business. I design, different solutions for different things that the business needs. And in most cases, at least until just recently, I would also build it and configure it and get it installed into the data center. So try to do all the pieces, and then there are other components of it that other teammates do, but that's basically what I do is work on the compute side.
So it sounds like if something goes wrong, they're calling you.
If the operations teams can't handle it, then yeah, that's the next person in line would be me. That's correct, or somebody else on my team, depending on the problem.
Yeah. So, Bobby, why don't you give us a little backstory with your situation with fighting and battling kidney disease?
Sure, it actually goes back, I guess, quite a few years now, but um, there had been a couple major events that happened to me, which kind of brought along this whole, I guess, the kidney failure part. But essentially, it kind of started. I never realized it was starting, but I was focused on work for many years, and I guess it never dawned on me that I would spend the entire day working at my desk and
Yes.
never get up and go use the restroom. And I guess it never really struck me as odd, until it was far too late. But I think I focused a lot on work. It was pretty much the most important thing in my life at the time, and spending so much time doing that, I wasn't paying attention to myself. It got to a point where just one day I realized that slicing potatoes wore me out, and getting
Wow.
up from the bedroom and walking to the kitchen was a chore. And that's when I realized, there's definitely something wrong. I probably should have noticed it well before that, but um, slicing potatoes and you get winded, then there's obviously something majorly wrong. So
Oh,
at
for
that point,
sure.
yeah. At that point, I ended up, heading to the hospital to try to find out what was going on. They were more than a bit shocked from my initial blood work. I was too, so we'll leave it at that. But I think my blood
Right.
pressure was 300 over 200 at the time. So it
Ooh.
was, yeah,
Oh.
they asked me if like, do you have a headache? And I'm like, no, I don't have a headache. I'm tired. Like, I'm so tired. I don't want to do anything. I can't move, can't cut potatoes, right? And
Yeah.
so they threw me into the hospital and initially tried to bring down my blood pressure, which was probably more traumatic than a lot of things that have ever happened to me, because that I guess it had been so high for so long. But coming down from a 300 down to somewhat normal, it felt like the world was imploding. It was the strangest feeling ever. Um,
Right.
the nurses had a long night with me that night, so it was
Oh,
it was
wow.
interesting. But the gist of it is, after the blood pressure incident, they did more testing and realized that, hey, your kidneys are not functioning good at all. I think at that point I was like 80% failure at that point. Um, I also had some heart issues too, which it kind of
Oh,
makes
wow.
sense with the things that were happening. Luckily, those heart problems have cured themselves, which has been great. So I have no issues there. But the kidney problem
Yes.
never went away. I spent, I guess, the next 5 years, dealing with going to see the nephrologist and checking my creatinine, and
Yeah.
it kept getting worse. And one of the major incidents that actually occurred was I went to the hospital. They wanted to give me a kidney biopsy to do, I guess, probably like a cancer check and some other things on the kidneys themselves.
Sure.
So they did the biopsy. I came home, and then I essentially almost died because the kidney biopsy was bleeding.
Oh,
So
wow.
apparently, not learning my lesson the first time when I should have called an ambulance, I dealt with it all night long until
Oh,
early the wee hours of the morning, and I actually called my mom and was like, I don't know what's wrong. Something's wrong again. Can you come get me? You gotta always
wow.
end up calling your mom, right? But
Yeah.
I called her. They didn't rush me to the hospital. I think they didn't think there was anything wrong, or maybe they thought I was on drugs. I'm not sure what the situation was, but I ended up having like a basketball-sized hematoma inside my stomach where it was bleeding out.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Now that, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, was the most pain I've ever felt in my entire life.
Mm.
Pretty much every breath. I was the guy in the hospital that you hear, screaming with every breath, and you're thinking to yourself, like, what is wrong with that guy? Why
Wow.
would he be screaming like that? And now I kind of understand. And I don't say
Yeah.
anything when I hear that anymore, because I just wish that whatever they're going through will stop. But um,
Yeah.
they never really could figure out how it was bleeding or where it was. It just, luckily, it stopped on its own.
Uh-huh.
And I kind of freaked out the nurses. I unfortunately vomited blood all over the room, all over the bed. They kind of
Ooh.
it was a bad incident. And
Wow.
I think I spent 3 months in the hospital after that, because I had lost, I think I was down to like a three something on my hemoglobin, because I had lost so much
Wow.
blood. And I ended up getting 6 pints of blood, from people that donated, obviously. And I started feeling better almost immediately once I got the blood back inside me. But I spent like 3 months trying to walk again, because it,
Wow.
it it felt like I couldn't feel my body, because it just, I don't know, it's just the way it was. But eventually that got
Wow.
better, and I got out of there and finally went home, and continued back with the nephrologist, back on
Yeah.
track again and keeping up.
Uh-huh.
But they were obviously still slowly going downhill. I mean, I think there was just too many traumatic events in a row that really topped over the edge. And And then there was one final
Sure.
event that happened, and somehow, and the doctors really couldn't tell me how, but I ended up with a like a urinary tract infection, which I thought was
Yeah.
odd for a guy to get because you don't really hear that too often. And they couldn't
Yeah.
explain to me how, how I would have gotten it. It's just one of those things that happen. And
Yeah.
but I was like, I obviously didn't learn my lesson again, and I let it go too long. It went septic
Oh.
into a kidney infection, and I was back
Oh.
in the hospital again. So
Mm.
I've learned from all these things not to make those same mistakes again. But they finally
Wow.
got me going, going again. And then by that point, it was just the kidneys were struggling too hard to keep up, and it was advised that I start dialysis and go ahead and get my fistula going, and I still kind of refused to do that because I
Yeah.
I didn't want to have that kind of change in my life and my lifestyle and my
Yeah.
life. I didn't want to do it. I was like,
Yeah.
I can stick this out until what needs to happen. But one of the things that really bothered me throughout this whole event was the my original nephrologist that I had, told me that I didn't qualify for a kidney transplant, that I would never get one, and there was
Oh,
no reason
wow.
to even try. So I mean, she was my doctor, so I
Yeah.
accepted it, right? After
Wow.
after I fired her and acquired a new nephrologist, literally the first
Hmm.
appointment that I had with him, he was like, "Why are you not active on a transplant list?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" I was told I
Yeah.
didn't, I didn't qualify for one. Why would I be on one? And he said he just shook his head, and he knew who the other nephrologist was. So it's been a series of events, right?
Wow,
And
Bobby.
so he got
Wow.
me going. He got me going on the transplant list. He sent me off for the fistula, and because he was the second opinion in my head, right? He
Yes.
was the second opinion. I went ahead and got the
Right.
fistula.
Yeah.
And that's what you got to do. And then I eventually,
Yeah.
I started with a very small fistula, like a 2 inch, a little 2 inch surgery mark incision. But then he had to go back and do a revision surgery, which was my entire arm. So
Oh,
I
wow.
have a scar all the way down my basically from my elbow to my wrist where he had to do a
Ooh.
revision. It was,
Wow.
yeah. He told
Yeah.
me I was going under and he was going to make a small incision and kind of cauterize some veins or whatever. And I get it. When I woke up, I had an entire arm cut, and he said, "Well, there was more in there that I needed to do." So,
Wow.
you know, stuff happens, right?
So, Bobby, we kind of have some similarities in our story. So, I was suffering with urinary tract infections. I was having them about once every 6 months.
Mm,
And it would start with frequent urination. And then before I knew it, it was painful and then it was bloody.
yeah,
And it became really bad blood
yeah,
to the point that it was like, okay, I got to get to the emergency room right now. And, and then my blood pressure was never as high as yours was, but my blood pressure got pretty high. It was in the upper 200s, over like 120s, 130s.
yeah.
So you got me beat on the blood pressure. But those numbers and are so high. They do so much damage. As you know, type 2 diabetes and hypertension are the top two causes for kidney disease. So it's hypertension is really hard on the kidneys. And was there any other symptoms that you were having? You don't suffer with type 2 diabetes at all?
No, no, I've been borderline on my sugar levels for
Yeah,
years, but it's never really gone up or down. So that
yeah.
fortunately, I can say that I don't have that at this point. It was honestly, from what they told me, it was simply high blood pressure untreated for far too long.
So I'm curious, why would the nephrologist, given your age at the time, you were what in your 30s, and you
Correct.
were a young guy? I'm wondering why your first nephrologist, didn't think you were a candidate for transplant. That baffles me.
I I don't have obviously I don't have facts as to
Yeah,
why she said that, but
yeah,
my only theory was that I had talked to some other doctors that knew this particular nephrologist, and they owned a DaVita clinic. And all I can guess is I don't know. She wanted me to be a patient there. I don't have
Yeah.
any other answer. So I hate to make it
Wow.
sound like that, but that's the only answer I have.
Wow. Well, I mean, you do hear stories like this sometimes from time to time, and it seems like in transplant or in kidney failure, they immediately sometimes instead of talking to patients about a preemptive transplant before dialysis even happens, they want to prepare you for dialysis. They don't really talk about, hey, let's get you ready for transplant. No, they revert immediately and start discussing, hey, we got to get you prepared for dialysis. So,
That's how it
sometimes
was.
it does seem like that they are business minded when it comes to transplant. It's almost like sort of like a routine that, hey, we're going to push them to either DaVita or Fresenius or whoever else that is the clinic that's available for them to go get their treatments with. But I think in the future, if we can get the word out and start educating people more about kidney disease and preemptive transplant, we're going to start seeing the numbers start going down a little bit when it comes to how many patients are going directly to dialysis. But a lot of patients aren't educated on it and do not know that, hey, you can go ahead and start talking to people about getting a transplant. They think, they need to just immediately go on dialysis. And so I've lost your video there. Oh, there you are. But hey, Bobby, so your story, man, it sounds amazing. Of what you went through and what you've encountered so far with dialysis. Um, so, was there any family history of kidney failure?
Not that I'm aware of, right? I asked obviously my mom if she knew of anybody in the family that had these kind of problems, and as far as I know, there's not anybody. There's a
Yeah,
few with diabetes, but other than that, I don't think kidney disease or kidney failure has been a trend anywhere in our family.
yeah, okay. Yeah. So you're doing hemodialysis, and you're doing that in center. Are you on the MWF or TTS schedule?
I am
Monday,
on
Wednesday,
TTS.
Friday?
I
TTS.
uh, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and
Yeah,
I am in a clinic. I've been asked, numerous times to switch to home, or if I would like to switch to home.
yeah,
Um, there's a couple reasons that I hadn't switched to home yet. I mean, it sounds beautiful compared to sitting in that chair for 4.5 hours, 3 days a week, right? Especially
yeah,
trying to do as much work as I can from that chair as well, which is extremely difficult. But I do what I can. But um, there's like a 6 or 8 week class of training that you have to go to be able to switch to at home. And they also
yeah,
wanted my wife to be there at the same time, and we both work full time. I don't
yeah.
know how we would ever pull that off to get the training done to even allow it to happen. And then secondly, I will not put that stress on her of having to stick me. I know that they tell me I can stick myself. I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Yeah,
I mean, maybe,
yeah,
maybe, but
yeah.
if I did something wrong and she wasn't home, I'm pretty good about
Right,
not freaking out
right.
these days, but
Yeah.
it's not something to mess with, right? I mean, I'm sure you're well aware of that. It's not something to screw up, and it's
Oh
not
no.
something to
Oh no.
accidentally do
No.
wrong. So,
So
but yeah,
I
so
was in
I'm in the
center.
clinic.
Okay. I was in center for about 10 months and then I actually switched to home hemo and I was only on it for about 3 months. And my wife actually did go through the training. And I can tell you, it's not for the weak of heart. It definitely, it takes up a lot of time. The only thing it did was it freed up my schedule. I wasn't locked into that, TTS
Yeah,
schedule, and it freed up my weekend. And I could basically do dialysis whenever I wanted, based on my schedule. So for me, that was the liberation of it. But other than that, like what you said, my dialysis center would not allow me to do it on my own. I had to have my wife. They wouldn't allow
Yeah.
me to stick myself. I had to have her to do it. I don't know. There's a lot of people that do stick themselves, and I commend them for that. I don't think I could do it, to be honest
Right.
with you. I don't think that I'm a man enough to do it. I just don't see myself being able to stick myself. But my wife, I had the buttonhole uh, in my fistula, so I had buttonholes, and she would work them in there and get them in there. And some nights they would go in easy, and other nights we really had to work with it to get there, into the venous. I remember the venous one acting up
Yeah.
sometimes, and but my DaVita clinic was amazing here, and they trained us and they trained my wife, and so we was able to get through it. So Bobby Buchholz is listed at UK Healthcare in Lexington, Kentucky, and his blood type is A. I'm sure that the UK Healthcare down there participates in the paired exchange program, the swap
That's correct. Yep.
program. Yes, and
Yeah, they do.
if you're not familiar with that, you can definitely Google paired exchange program. It's basically a kidney swap program where Bobby would get a kidney, and they would go into the bank and swap out. And Bobby's donor, whoever would step up to be the donor, if their blood type was not compatible with his, they would swap it out, and Bobby would end up getting a kidney as a result of that, and someone else would get a kidney as well. And it's basically the paired exchange or the swap program. And I believe the system they use that through is UNOS. I believe that's where they go to find out if there's some a kidney in there in the bank that they can reach in and get, which they don't keep them very long. As soon as they get them, they're gone pretty quickly.
I would
Um,
imagine.
so Bobby is an A, which means that he can accept either an A or an O kidney, because O is able to donate to any blood type, can only receive an O, and O can only receive an O, but O can donate to any other blood type. And then, of course, I just talked about the paired exchange program. Again, he has a Facebook page, Hope for Bobby Buchholz, UK Healthcare Lexington. The phone number is 1-859-257-1000. And you can go on to their actual his Facebook page and find the website link and get pre-screened if you're interested at all at becoming Bobby's donor. You've heard some of his story. You've heard him express some of the agony, some of the issues that he's had with kidney disease and dialysis and all this. It's not for the weak of heart. It's definitely a tough life to live. Bobby, how long have you been on dialysis?
Going on 2 years now, since I started into the clinic. So about 2 years,
Yeah.
2 long years, I should
And
say.
how's that affected your life and your like your work schedule, your family life? Kidney disease not only affects you, but it affects everybody around you, in your circle.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of devastated about having to go. Honestly, more worried about my job, and how they were going to deal with it than anything else. And luckily, my company was nice enough to allow me to take Tuesday and Thursday. Right now, I go in the morning, so I've got a 7 o'clock share. So I go in there pretty early, and I work as much as I can while I'm there. And then as soon as I get home, I just continue the day until I'm finished for the day. But they've been really awesome about dealing with me, not being fully available all the time like I used to be. So I can't complain, there at all.
Yeah.
But as far as home life, I mean, it's rough. There's 3 days of the week, including half my weekend, is basically gone. Getting up pretty early to go. I drive myself, so I know a lot of people in the clinic, they don't drive themselves, or, they have some
Yeah.
either family bring them or whatever. But, I still drive and all that. So
Mhm.
I drive myself to the clinic. It's early. I try to get some work done in the mornings. And then as soon as I get home, I just continue my day and do what I can. But it's losing half the weekend is rough. But the reason I chose Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday was so that it wasn't 3 days away from work. Um, Maybe that wasn't the right choice. I don't know, but I care about my job, and I care about the company I work for. So I want to make sure I was as available as much as I could.
Yeah. Well, that was awful nice of you, Bobby, to be mindful of that. Definitely, and you evidently enjoy your career, or you wouldn't have made that decision. Um, and so I can tell you for myself personally, the work that I was involved in, I wasn't able to do that. And a lot of companies out there will not work with you with your schedule. So you're definitely
Right.
blessed that you have a company that helps you out and works with you, considering your situation. When you come out of dialysis, do you ever experience like fatigue or any side effects or issues with your dialysis treatments?
So honestly, it's different every day, right? On days maybe we try to take too much fluid off, are rougher than
Yeah,
others. Some
yeah,
days, I feel perfectly fine, and I'll go home and I can finish my day at work, and then maybe go down and work on the car or something. So it really depends. Today, I don't know if you can tell, but I look rather tired today. Today was a little rough for whatever reason. It was a big treatment because we went in Wednesday night instead of Thursday just for Thanksgiving. So we had a 2-day break in between treatments. So it was a little
yeah.
rougher today than normal. So I was a little more worn out today than normal. But I
Right,
all we can do is do what we can, right?
right.
And I try to keep my energy level up though. Like I don't want to come home and just lay in the bed, or I don't want to come home and just fall asleep on the couch. I want to stay active as much as possible. I think that's the key.
Yeah. Oh yeah, staying active for sure. Because staying active and like being mobile and keeping the blood flow going, with your cardiovascular system. Because a lot of times, after kidneys fail, then the cardiovascular system starts acting up, and and you definitely want to keep your cardiovascular system in good shape. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And you said you already had an issue with your heart. What exactly what exactly happened with your heart?
Yeah. So when I had that large episode in the hospital, they told me that I had uh, congestive heart failure at the time. Which
Okay.
at the time I didn't even realize that was reversible. I thought that was just you have it, it's done, you're kind of screwed, right? But
Yeah.
it ends up being something that is reversible. And once you bring your health back into check and start, exercising or getting out more, doing things that you should be, those problems can go away, which is great. Um,
Was that
I
was that from overload of fluid?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what it
Yeah.
was. They said that my heart couldn't pump as hard as it should.
Hmm.
But the good thing is, a couple of years after that, it was 70%, then it was 80%, and then back to 90%, and then I've actually got a clear sign off from a cardiologist. So the
Wow.
only the only other heart thing that I had that actually happened was they said it was probably caused by the kidney failure. Was I had AFib
Yeah.
that just randomly started out of nowhere. And they
Yeah.
stuck me under those paddles and gave me a good shock, and it's been gone ever since. So hopefully,
Yeah.
just another thing to mark off the list.
So that's another similarity that we had. So when I got diagnosed with kidney disease, and I was basically in an emergency situation. I was just moments from death myself. Um, I went in, I got wheeled into the emergency room, and then they had to helicopter, stat flight me to San Antonio, which was about an hour drive. It's about a 20-minute helicopter ride. And once I got out of the helicopter, my heart went into sort of an AFib situation, and they had to actually get the paddles out and shock me back, which I had blacked out at that point, and I ended up waking up in the ICU. And they removed about 30 pounds of fluid off of me, which was crazy. And they were amazed that I even made it and walked out of there, because my potassium was like 9, and which is super off the charts high, and my just the toxins had taken over my body basically.
Oh yeah.
And
Yep.
I thought I was fighting the flu, Bobby. I really thought I had the flu, and I stayed in the bed for 2 or 3 days, and I just thought I was fighting flu symptoms and didn't realize that, my kidneys had failed. And this disease is kind of unique in a way, because sometimes it mimics some symptoms of like the flu, things like that. And but like you said, you said cutting potatoes actually exhausted you, um, which is a tell sign of the fatigue level that you were going through.
Yeah, from the building that I was working in at the time to my car in the parking lot was probably a quarter mile walk, I guess.
Yeah.
I was stopping probably 7, 8 times on that walk from the building to my car before I could even get to my car. So, and again,
Wow.
I should have paid more attention to myself, but um, at the time, all I cared about was work. I mean, that's the truth.
Yeah.
It was work.
And see, you look like you're a pretty good shape guy. I was at one time I was 350 pounds. So a lot of my symptoms, like, and I had those type of symptoms, like I would walk and I noticed that I could barely walk and like take the trash out, because by the time I would go to take the trash out and come
Yeah.
back in, I was breathing so heavy, like I had ran a marathon or something. And I just accredited it to my
Yep.
weight. I didn't think it was kidney disease or that my kidneys had
Yep.
failed. I just
Same.
thought, well, I need to go on a diet and lose some weight, or start exercising more. That's what I thought. But no, I was in renal failure and didn't really realize it.
Yeah, I was up to I want to say 420, 430. Looking through a lot of your
Wow.
pictures on your
Hmm.
Facebook page, you,
Yeah.
a lot of your pictures reminded me of myself when that stuff was happening.
Yeah.
The kind of swollen face a little bit, right?
Oh
I
yeah.
have a lot of pictures of myself that were just like that, and now that I saw yours, and I was like, man, it looks the same. It looks the same as
Yeah.
what I was going through, and when they put me on the bed initially, right? The hospital beds kind of weigh you, right? I don't, if I remember correctly, it wouldn't even weigh me. I mean,
Oh.
it was bad.
Wow.
But it was all fluid, right? Just like you said, however many
Yeah.
pounds of fluid, and
Yeah.
they gave me my first water pill ever, and wow, I mean that was interesting too. That was about as crazy as that first blood pressure pill that I took. But the
Yeah.
water pill really, I mean, it started coming out like I couldn't believe it, right? And of course, it was
Yeah.
foamy and sudsy, and I was like, that's strange. What in the world's going on? But I learned all that later on what that meant. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was a lot of water, a lot of fluid, and I mean, no
Yeah.
wonder I was so tired, right?
Yeah. I experienced the foamy urine as well. As a matter of fact, the foamy urine was a common occurrence with me for a while, and I ignored it. I thought it was high sugar level or whatever, but it got so bad that
Yes,
it would literally
exactly.
come and raise out of the toilet almost. It was really bad
Yeah,
for me,
yep.
really bad.
I thought it
And
was sugar level too. I really
yeah,
did.
I did too. And had I known, it goes back to education, Bobby. When I was talked about to from different doctors over the years about diabetes, they would say things like, "Yeah, it can cause kidney failure, but they didn't really like go into the main details and really expand on what kidney failure was about and what the symptoms were of it. They just handed me a pamphlet and said, here's your diabetes pamphlet, and you go home and read this. And basically, I did what everybody does. I kind of briefly looked over it and put it in a drawer somewhere. I didn't expand on it. And had I been, properly educated more, and it would have been in my face a little bit more, whether it would be a commercial on TV or something. I mean, when's the last time you've seen a commercial for kidney disease? You just don't see it.
Yeah, you don't, right?
Yeah. And so it wasn't in front of my face. And so what is the old saying? Out of sight, out of mind, right? And so when it was happening to me, I didn't know. I wasn't educated enough on it, and I didn't realize what was happening to me. So I just kind of went with it, and unfortunately, it affected me and snuck up on me, and just about nearly took me out. And but Bobby, man, I really appreciate your story. I can definitely sympathize with some of the things that you've been through. Bobby's waiting, guys out there that are listening and watching, come across this video. Bobby is waiting for a kidney donor. He is currently listed at UK Healthcare in Lexington, Kentucky. Guys, you can reach out to his Facebook page. He's Hope for Bobby Buchholz Facebook page. He's got the website listed there as well, that you can get pre-screened. It basically asks just a few questions, and then the transplant team will reach back out to you. And also, I'm going to give you the phone number. His blood type is A positive, which he can either accept an A or an O, and it doesn't really matter about the RH factor. It can be A positive or negative, as long as it's an A or an O kidney. We've already discussed the paired exchange, but guys, if you're interested in becoming Bobby's donor, as you've listened to him talk about his experience with kidney disease and everything that he has went through with dialysis currently, you can definitely call and mention Bobby Buchholz at 1-859-257-1000. And again, that's UK Healthcare. Bobby, in Louisville, you're currently seeing a nephrologist in Louisville, but you ended up having to be listed in Lexington. Does Louisville not have a current kidney transplant hospital?
So I think they did until just recently, and I think the U of L transplant center was closed, or transitioned or whatever. Something happened to that particular one. I had actually reached out to also Cincinnati, and also IU, Indiana University. At the time, which was about a year ago, at the time I didn't meet the BMI requirements for those two sites because most of the locations have different requirements, right? So I didn't actually hit their BMI at the time. I do now, which is probably something I'll pursue to make sure I'm registered in more than one location, which would be great. But that's how it was. I mean, UK was the first one that I tried to go for, and I just barely hit their BMI metric for the transplant. But again, now I'm below that, so that's I can't complain, right? Hopefully, I just keep going down, and I don't have to worry about that metric anymore. So
yeah, dialysis definitely has that way of sucking the weight right off of you, right? Because I mean, I remember having to buy like all new clothes, and thank God for like thrift stores, because I couldn't afford to go buy a whole new closet, because I went from like a 3X to like an XL. And I still remember this. My head nurse the charge nurse at my DaVita, she laughed at me because I was basically hanging on to my shorts with one hand. And this was after probably a couple months of treatment. And she was like, "You're going to have to buy some new clothes, buddy, because we're going to keep sucking the weight off of you." So, but I would definitely continue to reach out. If you're lower BMI now, I would definitely think about the possibilities of reaching out to like Cincinnati and possibly and you said IU was another one. I know one of my
Yeah,
friends,
IU, and I
Jim.
think the other one was Tennessee.
Okay, yeah, because Louisville's kind of in that cluster there where you can reach a lot of different cities within a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, one of my advocate friends, Jim Myers, I believe, got his transplant at IU in I believe Indianapolis.
Nice.
So,
I heard that's a really good
yeah,
team up there. So
yeah, he talks highly of them. So, I would definitely, the more the merrier, the better.
yeah.
I would definitely think about reaching out and doing that. Are you doing any other things other than we're sharing for you on social media? Me and Jeff Brown. Jeff is as a kidney advocate. He also is advocating for you as well. And but are you doing anything other than social media or do you have like a sticker or anything like that or flyers or?
No, I mean most of it's been social media. I've tried, doing some things on Facebook, obviously. I even made some TikTok videos, posting the card and some screenshots and videos of the clinic and things that I'm going through, but it didn't really catch on, so that, I mean, that's kind of the extent of it. I mean, honestly, to be fair, you've done more for me than anybody else has so far, and there's no way to thank you for that. So
Well, Bobby, as we discussed before the show, it's a small world. I ended up knowing your wife's one of her supervisors, and I've known her for years, Crystal, and she's been a great friend over the years. And I'm originally from Louisville, and I wanted to reach out and help some people from the city of Louisville, Louisville, Kentucky, and I felt like when she reached back out and said, "Hey, I've got this friend that her husband's in need." I just felt like it was the right thing to do, and so it's just a small way for me to give back for everything that everybody did for me, and people. I had so many people sharing and so many people praying for me and just all kind of things that people did that uh, you know it just shows that there's still some good humanity out there, even though the world we live in doesn't reflect that sometimes. There's still some good people out there.
yeah, I mean, you know, I didn't tell you this part of the story yet, but um, I did have a live donor that we had been going through the process for about the entire 2 years,
Hmm.
and then just recently that was squashed. So I mean, they were a borderline match. I get it; it's a hard decision. You know, um, you can't be mad at somebody for that. It's a hard decision, and anybody that even offers to get tested, like, what can you say to that, right? It's
Yeah,
it's like an
yeah,
impossible feat,
definitely.
right? I mean,
Yeah, I mean, definitely. It's definitely difficult. I mean, even asking like immediate family, like that's a hard thing to do to ask
mhm.
somebody to be your kidney donor. And and then if you don't have anybody in your family that matches, then you got to reach out to your friends, and
Yeah,
that's, I mean, I have a hard time
even
even
tougher.
asking my friend for like $1, right, much less a kidney,
Yeah,
so
yeah, that's
and
true.
so anybody out there who's debating on becoming a possible donor, what I would do is definitely, you need to definitely do your due diligence and research before you even want to think of discussing of being someone's donor. And then also, I would take the time to definitely pray about it. Make sure it's the right decision for you before you do it. Of course, they're going to give you all kind of evaluations medically, and also a mental. There's a mental side of it. They'll do some sort of mental evaluation as well to make sure that you're making a right decision for yourself and your family. But it's definitely being a donor. I would say would be one of the most rewarding things because you're going to be someone's hero, giving them the gift of life. And another thing is, a lot of people don't realize this is, and I ran into this a lot, is a lot of people are not educated on transplant. They think if they give you their kidney that there's going to be something wrong with them. And they don't realize that you can live a perfectly normal, healthy life with one kidney. So there's a lot of things to be said about education on this, for sure.
There was a couple points that even I learned that, I thought it was important for donors, possible donors, to know, was one that the surgery is covered by my, like, for instance, my insurance company would cover the surgery, so there's no cost to the donor, and
Yes.
that's important, one. And two was, this was probably more important than anything else, was I read that, the donor, if in the future they have an issue with their single kidney, because they were a donor, they immediately skyrocket to the top of the list. um, and that's amazing, right? I mean, that bypasses everybody that's been on dialysis for X amount of years or X amount of time. But I don't know if that's the same in all states, but I know that that's what I read for at least Kentucky. And if
Yeah.
they donate, and then sometime in the future in your life, if you have an issue with the one kidney you have left because you were a donor, you get priority. And I think that's a key piece of information that
Yeah.
a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. And supposedly you go to the top of the list. If you are a donor and something happens that your kidney starts failing, they supposedly they put you right at the top of the list, and get you taken care of as quickly as possible. Um, so that's something to also keep in the back of mind. But you made some great points about the insurance deal. A lot of people's worried about, do I have to pay for anything and all that. So a lot of people also are concerned about, like having to take off of work, stuff like that. And I believe there's some voucher programs now out there that people's been talking about, that I think will actually help you out and reimburse you, almost like, not an Aflac situation, but it's kind of similar where they give you a voucher, while you're off of work to help you out to offset some of the costs for cost of living.
Yeah, and I mean, and on top of those programs that we read about as well, we initiated a GoFundMe, which, wasn't really intended to pay for anything for me. It was more meant to help the donor. Because, for instance, I'll be able to file, one FMLA for myself, but then also short-term disability, which at least helps me keep some money coming in for work,
Yeah,
where the donor can file FMLA, sure, but they if I'm not mistaken, they can't file short-term disability because of it. So I thought, whoever that ends up being, if anybody, it would be nice to have a fund, created so that, if they get in trouble during that time, there's money there to help them. And that was kind of the
yeah,
point of our GoFundMe. It hasn't really caught on, unfortunately. I guess, I don't know, people have other
yeah,
other GoFundMes that are more important. But that was the
yeah,
point of our GoFundMe, and that's why we listed it on the Hope page.
yeah. No, and I agree. Sometimes you see these ones that go crazy where people just start donating, and I don't know. I don't know what the formula is for it, but
Yep.
some are more successful than others. But Bobby, you know what, Bobby, you hang
Absolutely.
on, brother, and you hang on to hope, and we're staying right beside you, and we're standing with you. And as a former dialysis kidney warrior, I'm still being a transplant is just another form of treatment. So I'm still a warrior, and I'm still battling right there with you. It's just I'm on the other side of it. But I want to let you know, man, I'm going to continue to share for you. I appreciate you coming on the episode tonight, with Hope with Jonathan, and doing the show and sharing your personal story. Means a lot to me. I really appreciate that. And I want you to know, man, that we're in your corner, and just keep hanging on. Let us know if anything, any updates, and keep us involved in it. And me and Jeff definitely will continue to post for you. And if you ever need anything, man, just reach out to us. Again, I really appreciate it. Say hello to everybody, your wife and cats at home. And
Definitely will do.
we'll definitely be continuing to look for you to get a transplant. I'm hoping for good things for you.
I appreciate it, and I hope the same for
If
everybody.
you,
I see a lot of people in the clinic every day, and they all could use it. So,
oh sure, if you had a chance to say something that to a potential donor, what would you like to say as we conclude our episode?
that's a hard question.
It is.
I guess what I would want to tell them is, uh, you may or may not understand what kind of change that would make in someone's life when they need a kidney. Um, there's absolutely nothing the person who needs the kidney can do at all to repay you, because that's an impossible feat. But if there's people out there that are willing to try, I mean, that's all it takes. Sometimes it's the first person that tries. It may be the thousandth person that tries, but somebody out there works. And all I can say is, if you're interested, give it a shot. And if you're not, nobody's mad at you at all. It's a hard decision.
Yes, it is, but a worthy one. And Bobby, you're definitely worthy
Absolutely.
of that. And we're believing for you, brother. Hey, I really appreciate you coming on. Again, guys, Bobby has a Facebook page for his kidney search. It is Hope for Bobby Buchholz. He's listed at UK Healthcare in Lexington. The phone number is 1-859-257-1000. Or is that 287? I believe it was. Let me look in again. It scrolled by so fast. No, it's 257. 1-859-257-1000. And you can mention Bobby Buchholz. Bobby, again, man, I really appreciate you, brother. And we're going to go ahead and conclude this episode. Again, guys, this has been another show, A Hope with Jonathan. We got some other interviews coming up soon. And I really appreciate all the feedback, love, and support. And look for us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I'm even on TikTok. So you guys can check me out there. Again, it's been a great interview, great inspiring kidney warrior story. And we're going to believe for great things for Bobby and continue to advocate for him. Guys, y'all take care. And remember, take care of your kidneys and donate life.